here now. Okay. Next Friday, I will be at a speaker series, so I won't be here. And however, we have instructors gonna be here and give you a quiz. So we're going to have the first quiz for this class on Friday. Okay, next Friday. Make sure you'll be here. Of course, I'm going to send you another email and letting everybody know, there will be a quiz on Friday.
Are we going to you or this is the quiz, not the test? Never mind.
Yeah, just quiz, just 10 to 15 minutes, and I will talk a little bit, at 10, just 5-6 questions, something like that. It covers chapter 1, 2, and also a documentary which I'm going to show you in a minute. All right, so again, the homework, I believe the homework on chapter 2 is due today, right? Okay, so make sure you don't wait until the last minute to finish. And I'm going to wrap up the chapter 2, and then I'm going to show you a documentary, probably in the middle of the class. And then we will not finish, of course, because that is, I think that's almost 2 hours video. I will ask you to go home to watch it. It's very, very fun. Okay, so start. Be quiet and pay attention to me right now. Okay. All right, so that's the plan. Okay, any other question? So starting from next week, we're going to move on to chapter 3, supply and demand. Okay. All right, so last couple of class, I'm gonna, do a little bit quick review. I think there's a couple of things I want to mention from the last class. Okay, so last class we did the trading, right? Okay, and but we rushed at the end because we did not have time to really talk, thoroughly about, how did we determine the exchange rate. So that's the part I'm going to go over here. All right, so but by playing that kind of experiment, did you feel that you understood the concept of exchange and trade better? Okay, very good, very good. All right. So let me help you, remember what we did here. So very first thing, whenever you have a problem, the very first thing you need to do for chapter 2's question is you're gonna draw PPF. You're gonna draw PPF. Okay. If I did not mention anything else, this is an assumption that we have constant trade-off. If we have constant trade-off, the PPF is a straight line or curve. Straight line. Remember that. Straight line. Okay. So Colleen, coconuts and the fishes. Let's make it check so that is correct. It can be both singular and actually plural. Okay. So all right, so this Collins PPF, and we know the trade-off between coconut and fish is 1 to 1. Can anyone tell me the slope? 1 or
Negative 1.
negative 1? Very good. Now I'm going to draw Tom. This, I remember this is 8, this is 4, right? And what is the slope for Tom?
Negative.
Negative 2. Very good. All right. So when you get this question, because after first quiz, in a few weeks you're gonna have the first midterm. So one thing you need to remember whenever I give you this kind of questions, 2 countries, 2 production, or 2 people, 2 production, 2 parties, 2 production. Whenever you have this kind of questions, the very first thing you draw the PPF, and the second thing is you figure out the slope. Okay? You figure out slope. Okay, then, we do the specialization. How did we do the specialization? We figure out absolute advantage and comparative advantage. Then we draw that kind of box, okay, in the chart. we look at each box there and see whether there is any production that has node mounted, and that will be 0, right? Okay, so that's about specialization. Then the last thing is about the trade. How should they trade? Okay, and I will, in the exam and also the quiz, I may ask you, what is the possible range for trade to occur? So instead of giving me one exchange rate, I want you to give me that kind of range. Okay? So for range, you're gonna have a lower bound, you're gonna have an upper bound, right? Okay? So how do we do it? Okay? We did that kind of, trial and error from the last, experiment. But if you have figured out the slope of the two PBF, then your life should be very easy. Okay? So what you do is, then you define the exchange rate is the number of coconuts divided by number of fish. So look at how I define this exchange rate. I use the y-axis good for the numerator, and I use the x-axis good in the denominator. Okay, you may ask me, can we do it reversely? Of course you can. But when you do it reversely, then you cannot use the absolute value of the slope as your upper and the lower bound. Okay, so I encourage you, you draw the PPF, then you determine which good is on the x, y, which good is on the x, and then you define the exchange rate this way. Okay. This could be a number of y good, a number of x good. Does this make sense for everyone? Makes sense, all right? Okay. And then the range, the exchange rate has to be less than, do you guys remember what is the upper bound, what's the lower bound? From our discussion in the last class? What's the lower bound? 1. What's the upper bound? 2. So it's in between these two slopes. Absolute value of the slope. Absolute value of the slope. Okay, so that's you need to remember. This is absolute value of one of the slope, and this is absolute value of one of the slopes. So in the future you can just use this kind of formula to everything. Did everyone follow me on that?
And that's the on the range you said?
That's the range of exchange rate. That will make trade occur. That will benefit everyone. Okay. Make sense? Is this hard? Challenging? Or too easy?
It ain't too easy.
Oh, it's too easy?
No, I said it ain't.
Oh, it's not? Oh, okay. I thought I should make it harder.
No. You good?
All right. Okay, so how about we just do a quick practice of this, okay? Let's use the book problem. Let's look at page, you have book with you, page 39.
I got the book online.
That's fine, page 39 in the last problem 1.6. You guys have the book?
No.
Not yet.
No, I don't have my laptop. I have the ebook.
Oh, you have the ebook? Okay.
Oh, so we on the stove.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you this example is about. Okay. So we have two countries. How many of you have books? Only just a couple of you have books? The rest of you just have ebooks?
Mhm.
Oh, yes or no?
Ebook, yeah.
Just ebook? Just ebook. Well, then if that's the case, then I would like you to print out the pages. Why? Why? Print out the pages.
Is you talking about like whenever you tell us to print it, or just be printed?
Because I encourage you to read from the paper, because you can take notes.
Gotcha.
On the computer, you can't.
I can highlight. That's how I've been doing. I've been highlighting on my ebook.
Or you can highlight your ebook. Well, because sometimes we use the book problem. So if you do that, then bring your computer.
Okay.
And if you don't bring your computer, bring the printed copy. Because it's just, we will use this. Okay? As most of you have ebook?
Mhm.
Most of you, because it's cheaper, right?
I have the book. I'm waiting on it to be sent through the mail.
But I just didn't bring it today.
Okay, so next time bring book to class if you have hard copy.
I gotta reorder mine.
All right, so I mean, in this example, we have two countries, okay? Orion and Scorpius. Scorpius. What's the name of the two countries? Orion and Scorpius.
This is on the homework.
Is that on the homework too?
Yeah.
Okay, good then.
I hated my life doing this.
I ended on.
Both produce granite and blueberries. Granite, blueberries. All right. There's additional information here. Each nation has a labor force of 800. People.
That's right.
Okay. The following table gives production per month for each worker in each country.
Right here.
Assume productivity is constant and identical for each worker in each country. Okay? All right, so I'm going to start with this first country, Orion. So each worker, each month, can produce 6/10 of granite, or, okay, they did not say or, but whenever you are given a table, let me put this table. So what they have here is 10s of granite, bushels of blueberries. So they have Orion, Scorpius, 16, 18, and 12. Okay? I want you to tell me, what does this information mean for country Orion?
Orion has the
Okay.
activity.
The following table gives production per month for each worker in each country. Somebody said something?
I said that. Did you ask what this means for Orion?
Yeah.
They have the absolute advantage. Right?
That's right, yeah. Okay. So that means if Orion worker just do this production only, they can produce 6 tons. You guys follow what I said? Okay. And what this 18 means?
That's the only thing they do they can produce.
If they produce blueberry only, each worker, that's each worker's production. What about the whole country? This represents whole country production. Can you draw the PPF for Orion's country's production, country's PPF?
Yeah.
So tell me what the numbers on the here and what numbers here. What's the number here?
4,800.
Huh?
Because there's 800 people in the labor force.
So
They can produce 6 tons of granite. So that's yeah, 4,800.
2,400.
48.
Yes, 4,800.
4,800. So this is 4,800.
Why is it that number?
Last one.
800 times 6.
What's that?
Why is it that number?
Each worker can produce 6 tons of granite in Orion. Totally we have 800 people, 800 multiplied 6.
Oh, okay.
So how about number on the blueberry bushels?
2,500.
What?
No, 18 times 800. I don't know that. 400.
How many of that?
14,000. That's your
400 or 300? 18 times 400. She got
times 8.
What is this number here?
14,400.
What?
That? Okay. Should be a straight line here.
I don't know. How did you do that?
Pay attention. Pay attention to me. Pay attention to me. Okay. You guys are very active. That's great. Okay. Sometime I would have one thing I noticed when I'm talking, not doing something else. Okay. So pay attention. When we get this, how do we get this number? 6. Each person produce granite, 6 granite, and totally we'll have 800 people. 6 multiply 800, right? 6 multiplied 800 is equal to 4,800. Then we know each worker can produce 18 bushels. 18 bushels multiply 800 equal to that. So if all the worker produce granite, totally is going to produce 4,800. If all the workers produce blueberries, they can get it 1,400 bushels.
Alright.
Okay, so after we done this, I want you to do it yourself for the other countries, Scorpius. Scorpius.
For the ones of granite.
Yeah, I want you to do the PPF for Scorpius. We just did the PPF for Orion, right? Now I want you to use that information there to do the PPF for Scorpius. Do it on your notebook and I will check. Okay, so what's the number on the vertical axis?
2400.
2400. And the one on the,
96.
alright, very good. Now tell me the slope of this PPF and the slope of this PPF. What's the slope of the Orion's PPF?
Negative.
Negative?
Negative.
Negative what?
2?
Negative 300? No, negative 3. I'm going by that.
That's wrong. That's the thing I want to see. I want to see how do you find the slope? How do we find
Just
slope?
do rise over run.
Negative
That's not
1/3.
calculate. It's 4,800.
Negative
over.
negative 1/3.
First we know it's negative, right? Okay, there's no question about that. How do we find slope? Use this distance divided by this distance.
Negative 1/3.
Okay? So this distance divided by this distance is equal to what? 1/3. On this one,
Negative 1/4.
negative 1/4. Did everybody follow that? Alright, so very good. So somebody just told us who has absolute advantage, right? We know the country Orient has absolute advantage, right? Okay. Then who has the comparative advantage in blueberry production? In blueberry production.
Scorpio?
Orange.
Both answers. So tell me why. If you say Scorpius, tell me why. Who has comparative advantage in the blueberry production? How do we determine that?
He has the
We
lower-
compare the what?
he has the lower-
Opportunity cost, right? Okay. So for Scorpius, what is opportunity cost for each worker to produce another bushel of blueberry? What's the opportunity cost of producing one bushel of blueberry? For Scorpius, what is it?
1/4 of a ton of granite.
They can either produce 12 bushels of blueberry or can produce 3 tons of granite. So what is the opportunity cost of 1 bushel of blueberry?
A fourth.
4? 4? Or 1/4? Which one?
1/4.
1/4 what?
Tons.
1/4 tons of granite.
Because it's the slope, there's that the absolute value of the slope.
That's one thing. Tell you. Okay. So, if we just look at the slope, we figure out slope, and that slope tells you the opportunity cost of the good on the horizontal axis. You guys following that? Okay. So then you know for Orient, what's the opportunity cost?
1/3.
1/3 of 10. And which one is smaller?
Oh, okay.
1/4 is smaller. So who has advantage, comparative advantage in the blueberry production? Scorpius. If Scorpius has comparative advantage in the blueberry production, then who has comparative advantage in the granite production? Orient. Yeah. So if one country has comparative advantage in one production, then the other country has comparative. All right. So now I want you to do this. Orient, Scorpius, This is granite. And this is blueberry. And write down those 4 advantage in those box and figure out which one does not have any advantage. You guys know what I'm asking you to do? Okay. First, put absolute advantage in. Where's the absolute advantage? Can you tell me? Where should I put it?
On both of them.
Which box?
Like granite and blueberry for
Top left.
The lower one? The top one.
Oregon.
Yeah.
On top.
Top one here?
Yes.
Okay. Comparative. Where is the comparative?
Scorpius blueberries. Scorpius blueberries.
Berry. Okay, that's one. Another one. Okay. So which production has no advantage?
Scorpius, granite.
That's right. So this production should be
Zero.
0. If Scorpius does not produce any granite, then how much blueberry is it going to produce?
96.
6. So that's the right. Okay. So this is what we know from specialization, right? Okay. So next question, I'm going to ask you. Okay. So Scorpius is only going to produce blueberries, and we know Orion, will produce both, right? So they're going to enter into exchange after production. Okay. Then I want you to define the exchange rate and figure out the range of exchange rate in order to make this trade happen. Okay? So how do we define the exchange rate of this trade? Number of Y good divided by number of X good, which in this case is number of.
It's a combination outside of the unit. But I don't know a combination right now. I don't know a combination right now. I was just saying it's a
No,
combination.
I don't need you guys to because it's going to be hard to find the combinations here.
Okay.
Okay, I just need to know the range, the upper bound and lower bound for the exchange rate. What's the upper bound and lower bound?
It would be 4,800 over 14.
Do we have that information already?
Yes.
Then,
1/3. Negative 1/3.
do we use absolute value or?
Absolute.
Okay, so it'd be.
So what is the upper bound?
Would it be?
The exchange rate less than or greater. So what is the upper bound?
1/3.
1/3. Lower bound?
So basically, if you figure out the slope, then you have your exchange rate.
Then you have exchange rate range, exactly. But I will ask you, how do you define the exchange rate? Then you have to make sure exchange rate is number of good on the X divided by number of good on X. Because if you reverse it, then you have to reverse this upper and lower bound as well. Okay. So this is a practice for the question that you will see on the quiz and also on the first midterm on chapter 2.
So if this does show up on a quiz, writing 1/4 and then the caret exchange rate and then another caret for 1/3, would that be satisfactory as an answer, or should we go in more detail?
No more detail, just show me that inequality. Exchange rate is greater than 1/4, it's less than 1/3. Give me that inequality. And also give me the definition of the exchange rate. It's equal to the number of rich good divided by number of rich good. So I know how to define it.
Okay.
When is the quiz?
When is the quiz?
Yes.
Friday in the week.
Okay.
In the week we're gonna have a quiz. Okay, so make sure next Friday you'll be here. Don't miss this. Okay. All right, so everybody is comfortable with this question? The quiz question is no harder than this. It's just like that. Okay? So if you understand perfect about this and you practice your homework, then you should be absolutely fine. Actually, you should be absolutely fine for the midterm question on chapter 2 as well. There's never surprise in my exam, but you do have to show up in the class and take notes and study the notes. Any other question on this? So we finished this scarcity and the choice in chapter 2. And the last thing in the chapter 2 is about economic systems. Okay? So as you know, there's two kinds of, extreme systems. One is we call them, the central government planning kind of market system. The other one is market economy. Okay? And in old times, China was that kind of system. Government determines the price, the wage rate, and the production, everything. Okay? Market economy is economy where market determines everything. So the price, the output, and what gets produced and who produces, all of things are determined by the market. Okay? So at the end of this chapter, it talks about these two economic systems. All right. And I'm going to show you a documentary. This is a very fun and education documentary. And from the documentary, you actually can see a little bit history about the transition or the change of those economic systems. And I want you to take notes, okay? Because in the first quiz, there will be questions from this documentary. Straightforward question, you got to pay attention. And we only have 15 minutes left. Don't finish. So this will be your homework, but I think it's a fun homework to watch over the weekend. Finish this documentary. You go home. You can check out from library as well, okay? But I'm going to show you how to return your mark.